is Rell Seas and Revolveragz competing against each other? Now recently, sagely brought to my attention that Rell Seas and Revolveragz may actually be competing against each other in terms of the game's contents and what they're bringing into the game. Now if you don't live under a rock, you'll notice there are some similarities with some of the features between the two games that they're bringing into their game. Things such as the ship mechanic, the ship combat in general. With Rell Seas' ship combat and ship functionality, they showed that off, and then a couple of days later Revolveragz presented their ship combat and ship functionalities as well. Doesn't really matter who actually developed it first, it's just the fact that they both have similar things. Now most people don't see this as a problem because it isn't actually a problem. Again, this is because we do know that Revolveragz and Rell Seas are going to be doing collab update. They're going to be updating the games, and we're not too sure how it's going to work as of now, but it's most likely going to be if you do something in this game's collab update, you get a reward in the other game. So we're just gonna have to wait and see, but it's super interesting that there are two separate games that are gonna be working together to bring updates that collab with each other. We've never had that like ever. Now you're asking, Ags, what do you mean by Revolveragz and Rell Seas competing against each other? And let's get straight into that. Now this is actually quite funny. Recently on the 10th of January, Revolveragz announced that they're gonna have 17 islands on release. Alphirex said underwater splash about 12 of the 17 islands, which will be in-game on release, have underwater caverns of some sort. 8 sea world bosses have been made and some of them are beatable, which is super cool. I'm not gonna lie, 17 islands on release is a lot. This was on January 10th. Now we don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but 10 days later Rell Seas also says we're looking at 19 through 20 islands on release, with C1 and C2 on top of underwater exploration. Now this is just them announcing how many islands is going to be on release. It can't be that bad, right? Wrong. On the same day, January 20th, only a couple of hours later, Alphirex pings everyone and says, for those of you keeping up with the 4 Nights of the Apocalypse new 7 Deadly Sins season, I've decided to finish the islands in the roster. Basically he's saying there's going to be 21 islands on release now. Basically he's saying there's going to be 21 islands on release now, which I find genuinely hilarious because this was only a couple of hours after Rell Seas said, hey guys, we're gonna come out with 19-20 islands during release. Alphirex also says, hey, now we have 21 islands during release, and it just seems like a funny back and forth. Obviously it's not a beef thing, but it's super competitive and I find it so hilarious. Revolveragz and Rell Seas are going to war with each other over who's gonna have the most content on release. This is hilarious, and it doesn't end there. On the 13th of January, Alphirex said some of you guys were asking to scale the player, so here you go. The NPC's endgame ships will be even larger than these since we want players to have a large free room and space to throw hands on them, as I spoke about a few days ago. And in the screenshot is basically the size comparison of the ship and the player. Now again, it's just hilarious because Rell Seas also did something similar where they showed the size comparison of the boat and the player standing on the edge. Like, you can't make this stuff up. It's so hilarious. Obviously they're probably not doing it intentionally, but who knows, they probably are. Maybe it's just like a, hey, I got one up on you, and it's like, hey, no, I got one up on you too. And it's a cool little back and forth. Again, it's probably just friendly competition. We do know the two games are going to be collabing with each other, and honestly I can't wait to see how that goes. But guys, we are not done, because there's also the players who love to compare the two games. There's always different people in the community saying, hey man, I like Revolveragz more than I like Rell Seas. Hey man, I love Rell Seas more than I like Revolveragz. And always comparing the two games in terms of graphics and gameplay and visuals or whatever the case may be. Now again, it's understandable that players pick their favorites. It's always going to happen, but there's no point just saying, hey, I'm only gonna play one game over the other, we can play all the games together. It doesn't really matter. There's gonna be collab updates for both of these games, so you're gonna benefit from playing both of the games. You don't need to pick one over the other. Honestly, people are gonna have their favorites, that's cool, but there's no point of creating unnecessary competition. Honestly, they're both different games and different genres. The only thing they have similar is that they're anime inspired. Now honestly, it is pretty cool to see this little back and forth within the community and between the developers, whether it's intentional or not. Honestly, I think it's hilarious. We do know Rell Seas and Revolveragz are part of the big three, honestly, and I mean this in every single way, shape or form, where they are two of the biggest games, two of the three biggest games that are definitely going to be coming out this year on the platform. Obviously, from the list video I made before, we know there's over 30 confirmed games coming out. Well, maybe not confirmed, but there's over 30 games that are meant to come out this year, and there's probably going to be a bunch more that will come out at some point that we just don't even know about. And there are some new games I found out about just recently that aren't even on the list, so we do know there's going to be a bunch of games coming out this year. Any one of those games could end up taking the spotlight, but in my opinion, Rell Seas, Revolveragz are definitely up there in the big three. What's the other game, you ask? Pocket Anime. Doesn't that look beautiful? I know it does. Anyways, that's it from me. I'm gonna see y'all boys in the next one. Peace.